Captain Alex Riley stood on the landing pad, squinting against the harsh sunlight that reflected off the massive heap of metal before him. What the Xeraxians called a spacecraft looked more like the aftermath of a collision between a junkyard and a tornado. Pieces of alien technology jutted out at odd angles. Mismatched panels were bolted together with visible seams, and exposed wiring hung from several sections, like strange technological vines. "This is our gift to humanity," the Xeraxian ambassador said, his thin lips stretching into what might have been a smile or a grimace. It was hard to tell with Xeraxians. His blue-gray skin glistened under Earth's sun as he gestured toward the monstrosity with a three-fingered hand. "A decommissioned patrol craft, a gesture of goodwill as your species joins the Galactic Concordat." Riley fought to keep his expression neutral. 6 months of diplomatic training had prepared him for many things, but not for this obvious insult disguised as generosity. Behind him, he could feel the tension radiating from the Earth delegation. "We thank the Xeraxian Empire for this generous offering," Riley said, choosing his words carefully. His dress uniform felt suddenly tight around his collar. "Lieutenant." Kate Monroe circled the vessel slowly, her engineer's eyes taking in every detail. She ran her hand along a section of hull plating, tapped at what appeared to be some kind of sensor array, and peered into an open access panel. Her usual professional demeanor couldn't hide her curiosity. "The vessel has been stripped of weapons. Systems, of course," the ambassador continued, "as is standard practice for new members of the Concordat, but the basic flight systems should be functional." The slight pause before functional told Riley everything he needed to know. "We look forward to studying this technology," Riley replied. "Earth is always eager to learn from our new allies." The ambassador's aide made a sound that might have been a poorly concealed laugh. The ambassador shot him a warning glance before turning back to Riley. "The official transfer ceremony will conclude now. Our technical team will provide basic operational manuals." The ambassador bowed slightly. "May this gift serve as a symbol of the bright future between our peoples." With that, the Xeraxian delegation retreated to their sleek, obviously functioning ship. As they departed, Riley finally allowed his shoulders to slump. "Well, that was humiliating," said Commander Greg Powell, Earth's diplomatic officer. "The Vega Consortium received a fleet of battlecruisers when they joined last year, and the Eridani got advanced medical technology," added Dr. Olivia Ward, running her scanner over a section of the hull. "This is literally garbage." Riley watched Monroe, who was now halfway inside an access hatch, only her legs visible. "Lieutenant, please don't get stuck in there. I don't want to explain to Earth Command how I lost my best engineer inside an alien trash heap." Monroe backed out, her face streaked with some kind of bluish fluid, but her eyes were bright with excitement. "Sir, you need to see this." Riley followed her back to the strange vessel. Monroe pointed to components that meant nothing to him. "Look at these markings. This section is Xeraxian, yes, but this part here, that's Truscan technology. And this?" She pointed to a dull green box with odd symbols. "I think this is Novan. The Novans haven't shared technology with anyone in centuries." "What does that mean?" Riley asked. "It means," Monroe said, lowering her voice, "that this isn't just Xeraxian junk. It's a hodgepodge of technology from at least 7 different species, some of whom aren't even on speaking terms with each other." Powell frowned. "So they gave us everybody's trash instead of just their own? That's even worse." "No, you don't understand," Monroe insisted. "The Xeraxians probably salvaged all this without understanding what half of it does. Look how it's connected. They've got power routing through communication systems and life support patched into waste disposal. It's a miracle this thing doesn't explode when powered on." Riley studied Monroe's excited face. "You're saying there's value here." "I'm saying there's potential," she corrected. "With the right team, we could reconfigure this into something the Xeraxians never imagined." 3 hours later, Riley stood before Admiral Paul Jackson in Earth Command's main briefing room. The Admiral's face had grown progressively redder as Riley's report continued. "So they gave us their literal garbage," Jackson finally exploded, slamming his fist on the table. while the other new members received functional ships and technology. It appears so, sir, Riley confirmed. Jackson's jaw tightened. It's a calculated insult. They're testing us, seeing how we'll respond. The Concordat is watching too. If we accept this treatment, we'll never be seen as equals. Actually, sir, Monroe spoke up from her seat at the briefing table. I don't think the Zeraxians, understand what they've actually given us. The room fell silent as Monroe pulled up schematics on the main display. The jumbled images showed the internal workings of the strange craft. This junk contains technology from at least 7 different species, some of which are historical, enemies of the Zeraxians. I believe they salvaged various wrecks and derelicts, took what they understood, and discarded the rest, which is what they've now given to us. And this helps us how, Lieutenant? Jackson asked, his voice still tight, with anger. Monroe's fingers flew across the control panel, highlighting different sections of the schematic. These components, when properly integrated, could create systems far more advanced than what the Zeraxians currently use. With Earth's unique approach to adaptation and integration, we could create something unprecedented. Riley watched the Admiral's expression shift from anger to curiosity. You're suggesting we take this insult and turn it into an advantage? Jackson asked. Exactly, sir. Monroe nodded. The Zeraxians think they're mocking us. I say we show them what humans can do with a pile of junk. Riley found himself smiling for the first time since the gift ceremony. It's very human, isn't it? Throughout our history, we've always had to make do with what we had. Jackson leaned back in his chair, studying the schematics. How long would you need? 6 months, Monroe replied without hesitation. Give me a crew of our best engineers, and 6 months. We'll transform this heap into something that will make the Concordat rethink their opinion of humanity. Jackson considered this for a long moment, then nodded firmly. Make it happen. Captain Riley, you'll oversee this project. If the Zeraxians want to give us trash and expect us to be grateful, let's show them exactly what humans can do with other people's cast-offs. As the meeting concluded, Riley pulled Monroe aside. Are you sure about this? You're staking your reputation on a pile of alien scrap metal. Monroe's eyes gleamed with determination. Throughout human history, our greatest achievements often came from necessity and limited resources. The Zeraxians don't understand that by forcing us to work with this junk, they're playing to our greatest strength, adaptation. Riley nodded, slowly. Then let's get to work. I want that ship to be the biggest surprise the Galactic Concordat has ever received. Behind them, the holographic display still showed the jumbled schematic of the alien vessel, a chaotic mess of technology that no other species would have bothered with. But to human eyes, it wasn't junk, it was opportunity. The massive hangar in Earth's orbital shipyard echoed with the sounds of construction. Sparks flew as cutting tools sliced through alien metal. The air smelled of hot circuits and the strange, sweet scent of alien coolant. For the past month, the alien vessel, now codenamed Project Phoenix, had been the focus of intense activity. Lieutenant Kate Monroe wiped sweat from her forehead and stepped back to examine the exposed power core. The bluish light it emitted cast strange shadows across her face. 50 of Earth's best engineers, mechanics, and scientists worked around her in shifts that never stopped. They had stripped the ship down to its basic frame, cataloging every component and testing each system. How's it coming along? Captain Riley asked as he entered the hangar. His boots clanged against the metal walkway. Better than expected, Monroe replied. She pointed to a holographic display showing the ship's internal systems. We've identified about 60% of the components. Some are fairly standard, but others... She shook her head in amazement. Some of this technology is like nothing we've ever seen. Riley nodded, studying the slowly rotating hologram. Admiral Jackson wants a progress report by tomorrow. The Zeraxian ambassador has been asking questions. Monroe smiled slightly. I bet he has. They probably expected us to put this thing in a museum, not actually try to make it work. From beneath the ship, a loud clang followed by colorful cursing interrupted their conversation. Sam Nichols, a former salvage worker from the asteroid belts, emerged from an access hatch. His broad shoulders were smeared with grease and his expression was a mixture of frustration and excitement. "Lieutenant, you need to see this," Nichols called, waving Monroe over. "I found something weird in the aft section." Riley followed as Monroe crossed to where Nichols stood. The salvage expert held what looked like a flat, triangular piece of metal, with strange markings along its edges. "This was installed as decorative plating," Nichols explained, turning the piece to show its connecting points. "But it's not decoration. It's part of a shield generator, an advanced one." Monroe took the piece, examining it carefully. "You're sure?" Nichols nodded vigorously. "Absolutely. I've seen something similar on a Etruscan merchant ship. But here's the thing. The Zeraxians had it connected backward. The energy flow was reversed. So it wouldn't work," Riley said, understanding dawning. "Not just that," Nichols replied. "It would actually drain power from other systems if activated. They didn't even bother to check if it worked. They just assumed it was junk because they couldn't make it function." Monroe looked at Riley, her eyes bright with excitement. "Captain, if we can find the other components of this shield system, find them," Riley ordered immediately. "This could be exactly what we need." As the weeks passed, more discoveries emerged. Dr. Olivia Ward, Earth's leading xenotechnologist, found that the ship's propulsion system was an accidental combination of 3 different alien technologies. "These drive cores were never meant to work together," she explained to Riley during his weekly inspection. She pointed to 3 cylindrical devices now carefully arranged in a triangular configuration. "But the Zeraxians accidentally created a configuration that, with some modifications, could achieve speeds no single species has managed on their own." Riley raised an eyebrow. "Can you make it work?" Ward smiled, her dark eyes twinkling. "We already have, in simulations at least. Once we integrate it with the power distribution system Monroe's team is rebuilding, this ship will outrun anything in the Concordate fleet." Throughout the hangar, similar breakthroughs were happening daily. A communications specialist discovered that what appeared to be damaged sensor arrays were actually parts of a sophisticated long-range communications system. A structural engineer found that the seemingly random pattern of hull reinforcements actually created a perfect resonance dampening field when properly calibrated. The ship was transforming before their eyes. Its systems became an unprecedented hybrid of technologies, each component enhanced by human adaptability and innovation. The crew began to feel a growing sense of pride in their work, speaking of the vessel with affection rather than derision. "She needs a name," Nichols said one day as the team took a rare break together in the observation room overlooking the hangar. "We can't keep calling her Project Phoenix." "That's premature," Monroe cautioned. "We still don't know if all these systems will work together when fully integrated." "They will," Nichols said with confidence. "I've never seen a ship come together like this. It's like she wants to fly." 3 months into the project, Monroe called an emergency meeting. Riley arrived to find her, Ward, and Nichols huddled around a section of the ship that had been hidden behind several layers of bulkheads. "We found this compartment yesterday," Monroe explained, leading Riley into a small, hexagonal room. In the center sat a device unlike anything Riley had seen before. It was roughly cylindrical, but its surface shifted and moved like liquid metal, reflecting light in impossible ways. "What am I looking at?" Riley asked, resisting the urge to touch the strange object. "We believe it's a weapons system," Ward said quietly. "Based on the markings and the material composition, it appears to be Krell technology." Riley felt a chill run down his spine. The Krell were not a current species of the Concordate. They were a legendary race that had vanished from the galaxy millennia ago, leaving only ruins and stories of their advanced technology. "The Krell are extinct," Riley said. "Have been for thousands of years." "Yes," Ward agreed, "which means this technology is ancient and far more advanced than anything currently in use. The Zeraxians probably had no idea it was here. This section was completely sealed off from the rest of the ship." "Can you make it work?" Riley asked, echoing the question he'd been asking about every system they'd discovered. Monroe exchanged a glance with Nichols and Ward. We already have, she replied. At least we've managed to power it up and run some basic diagnostics. It appears to be a directed energy weapon of some kind, but the power requirements are enormous. We'd need to reconfigure the entire power distribution network to accommodate it. Riley stared at the shifting metal surface of the device. And it's far more powerful than anything currently deployed by any concorded species. Based on our preliminary tests, Ward said, it's at least 5 times more powerful than the main batteries on a Xeraxian battlecruiser. Admiral Jackson arrived the next day, his usual stern expression replaced by rare amazement as Monroe and her team presented their findings. The Xeraxians gave us this as a joke, Riley said as they concluded the briefing. They never imagined we'd actually make it fly, let alone turn it into something formidable. That's the beauty of it, sir, Monroe responded with a subtle smile. Humanity has always excelled at making something out of nothing. It's in our nature. Jackson nodded slowly, looking out at the ship through the observation window. It no longer resembled the heap of junk that had arrived on Earth. Its hull was now smooth and uniform, its systems integrated behind clean access panels, its engines glowing with ready power. How soon until it's ready for a test flight? The Admiral asked. Monroe straightened her shoulders. 2 more months, sir. We need to finish the integration of the shield system and run final safety protocols. You have 1 month, Jackson replied. Intelligence reports indicate increased Xeraxian military activity near our borders. They're testing our defenses, seeing how we respond to provocations. Sir, rushing this could be dangerous, Ward cautioned. Some of these systems are still not fully understood. Understood or not, we need this ship operational, Jackson said firmly. If what you've told me about its capabilities is true, it could change the balance of power in the Concordat, and right now Earth needs every advantage it can get. As the Admiral left, Riley turned to Monroe. 1 month. Can we do it? Monroe looked through the window at the vessel they had transformed from junk into what might be the most advanced ship in the galaxy. We have to, she said simply. For Earth. The renamed vessel, now called the Salvager, hovered above Earth. Its once messy exterior was now sleek and purposeful. The final tests had been completed the previous day, and even the most cautious engineers had to admit that the results exceeded all expectations. The ship had become a symbol of human resourcefulness, but it remained Earth's best-kept secret. The Xeraxians and other concordate species believed the humans were still struggling to understand the gift they were given. Captain Riley stood on the bridge, running his hand along the smooth control panel. The ship no longer looked like it, had been pieced together from different alien technologies. The human engineers had created a unified design that integrated all the various systems into one coherent whole. Final system check complete, Captain, Lieutenant Monroe reported, looking up from her station. All systems are operating at peak efficiency. Riley nodded. And the special system we found? Monroe lowered her voice, though everyone on the bridge crew had the highest security clearance. The Krell weapon is fully integrated with our power grid. We can activate it at your command. Let's hope we never need to, Riley said. Our mission is exploration and defense, not provocation. Admiral Jackson had given Riley command of the Salvager, with Monroe as his executive officer and chief engineer. They had assembled a crew of 50 of Earth's finest, including Sam Nichols as operations chief and Dr. Ward as science officer. Their mission was simple: a covert shakedown cruise to the edge of human space to fully test the ship's capabilities away from prying eyes. All departments report ready for departure, sir, said Ben Howard, the communications officer. Very well, Riley said, settling into the captain's chair. Take us out, Lieutenant Frank. 1/4 power until we clear Earth orbit. The young navigation officer nodded. 1/4 power, aye, sir. The Salvager moved away from Earth with a grace that belied its origins. There was no shudder, no strain, just smooth acceleration as the hybrid drive system engaged. On the main view screen, Earth receded, becoming a blue marble against the blackness of space. We're clear of orbital traffic, sir, Frank reported. Ready to engage main drive. Riley felt a moment of tension. This would be the first real test of the drive system at full power. Proceed, Lieutenant. Take us to full speed. Frank's fingers moved over his controls. Engaging main drive. Now. The view on the screen shifted as stars blurred into streaks of light. The ship made no sound, but Riley felt a slight vibration through the deck, like a living thing taking a deep breath. All systems nominal, Monroe reported, sounding almost surprised. We're at maximum speed, and the power grid is handling it perfectly. Riley smiled. It had been just under 4 months since the Xeraxians had given Earth their gift. 4 months of non-stop work to transform garbage into what might be the most advanced ship in the galaxy. Set course for the Proxima Centauri system, Riley ordered. Let's see what this ship can really do. For the next 3 days, the salvager performed flawlessly. Every test, every system check, every drill exceeded expectations. The crew began to relax, to feel the pride of accomplishment. They had proven that humans could take what others considered worthless and create something extraordinary. On the 4th day, everything changed. Captain, I'm receiving an emergency distress signal, Howard called out, his voice tight with alarm. It's from Proxima Centauri 30, the mining colony. Riley turned to face him. Put it through. The view screen flickered, showing static-filled images of destruction. A panicked voice came through between bursts of interference. Under attack, unknown vessels, defenses failing. Request immediate assistance. How far are we from Proxima Centauri III? Riley demanded. At maximum speed, we can be there in 40 minutes, Frank responded. Make it 30, Riley ordered. Monroe, I need everything the engines can give us. Monroe was already adjusting power settings. Diverting non-essential power to the drive system. We can make it in 32 minutes, but it'll push the integration points between the different drive technologies. Do it, Riley said firmly. Howard, notify Earth Command of the situation. Tell them we're responding. As the salvager accelerated toward Proxima Centauri III, Dr. Ward joined Riley at the command station, her face pale with concern. Captain, there's something you should know, she said quietly. I've analyzed the brief visual data from the distress call. The attacking ships, they match ancient descriptions of Krell vessels. Riley stared at her. That's impossible. The Krell disappeared thousands of years ago. Apparently not all of them, Ward replied. And if I'm right, it can't be a coincidence that they're attacking one of our colonies right after we activated Krell technology on this ship. Riley felt a chill run down his spine. You think they detected the weapon system when we powered it up? It's possible, Ward admitted. The technology is far beyond our understanding. It could have sent out a signal we weren't aware of. Before Riley could respond, Frank called out, Approaching Proxima Centauri 3, Captain. Dropping out of faster-than-light travel in 3, 2, 1. The starfield on the view screen returned to normal, and the blue-green planet of Proxima Centauri III appeared before them. Orbiting the planet were 3 sleek, dark vessels with distinctive angular shapes. They were methodically firing upon the colony's defenses. Sensor analysis, Riley ordered. Nichols studied his readings with growing alarm. 3 ships, configuration unknown. They're using energy weapons far more advanced than anything in our database. The colony's shields are at 12% and failing. Open a channel, Riley commanded. All frequencies. Howard worked his controls. Channel open, sir. Attention unknown vessels, Riley began. This is Captain Alex Riley of the Earth Vessel Salvager. Cease your attack on our colony immediately or face defensive action. Seconds passed with no response. They're not answering. Sir, Howard reported. And they're continuing their attack. Move us between the attackers and the colony, Riley ordered. Shields at maximum. As the salvager positioned itself to protect the colony, the attacking vessels suddenly broke off their assault. All 3 turned to face the human ship. They've ceased fire on the colony, Nichols reported. Now they're scanning us. Very intense scans like nothing I've seen before. Captain, Howard called urgently. We're receiving a transmission, but it's not audio or standard video. I don't know what this is. The view screen filled with a series of images, not photographs or video, but something more like thoughts translated into visual form. Among the strange symbols and alien landscapes was a clear image of the Krell weapon aboard the salvager. Dr. Ward moved closer to the screen, her eyes wide. "They're communicating," she said softly. "And they're showing us that they know what we have. They want their weapon back," Riley realized. "More than that," Ward said, studying the shifting images. "I think they're demanding we surrender the entire ship." The images on the screen changed, showing the salvager being escorted by the 3 Krell vessels toward a distant point in space. Riley faced a terrible choice. He could surrender the ship and potentially give an ancient enemy the means to threaten all concordate species, including Earth. Or he could fight with a vessel that had never been tested in actual combat. "Battle stations," he ordered, his decision made. "Shield status?" "Shields at full power, Captain," Monroe reported. "Weapons? All conventional weapons systems online," Nichols confirmed. "The Krell weapon is charged but untested." Riley took a deep breath. "Let's see what this junk heap can really do. Target the lead vessel. Conventional weapons only. We'll save our surprise for when we really need it." As the crew prepared for battle, the 3 Krell ships moved into attack formation. The salvager, once dismissed as garbage, now stood as Earth's only defense against an enemy from the ancient past. The salvager hung in space between the human colony and the 3 Krell vessels. On the bridge, the crew waited in tense silence for the enemy's first move. It came without warning. Brilliant beams of energy lanced out from all 3 Krell ships, converging on the salvager. "Brace for impact," Riley called. But the expected jolt never came. Instead, the shield system Monroe and her team had modified activated automatically. The energy beams struck the shields and seemed to ripple across them like water, leaving glowing trails that slowly faded. "Shields holding at 100%, Monroe reported, checking her readings with amazement. "Actually, they're at 120% and rising. The attacks are being absorbed and converted to additional power." Riley allowed himself a small smile. "Just as you designed them to?" "Not exactly," Monroe admitted. "They're performing better than our simulations predicted. It's like the ship is adapting." The Krell ships adjusted their formation, moving to surround the salvager. "They're trying to flank us," Nichols observed. "Classic encirclement tactic." Riley nodded. "Let's show them what our conventional weapons can do. Target the lead vessels. Propulsion system. Disable, don't destroy." "Targeting," Nichols confirmed. "Firing now." The salvager's response was immediate and precise. Energy pulses, a hybrid of human and alien weapon technologies, struck the lead Krell ship at exactly the points Nichols had targeted. The enemy vessel shuddered visibly, and its engines flared and then dimmed. "Direct hit," Nichols reported. "Their main drive is offline." The other 2 Krell ships intensified their attack, firing continuously at the salvager from different angles. But each hit only strengthened the shields further. "Shields now at 150% capacity," Monroe called out. "The power is being redirected throughout our systems. Weapons efficiency is increasing." Riley was about to order another targeted strike when something unexpected happened. The control panels throughout the bridge flickered, and strange symbols briefly replaced the human text on the screens. "What was that?" Riley demanded. Monroe was rapidly checking systems. "Unknown, sir. It seemed to originate from within our own computer core." Dr. Ward moved to Monroe's station, studying the readings. "Captain, I think the ship is responding to the attack." "Explain," Riley ordered. "The Krell technology we integrated, it's not just the weapon," Ward said, her voice filled with wonder. "I think the entire core framework of this ship is ancient Krell design. The Xeraxians built their junk heap around a dormant Krell vessel without realizing it." As if confirming her words, another surge of energy coursed through the ship. The main view screen changed, displaying the battlefield in a way none of them had seen before, highlighting structural weaknesses in the enemy vessels, suggesting optimal firing positions. "The ship is giving us tactical advice," Nichols said in astonishment. Riley made a quick decision. "Follow its suggestions, target the points indicated." The salvager's weapons fired again, this time striking precise points on both attacking Krell ships. The effect was immediate. The vessel's weapon systems went offline, leaving them defenseless. Monroe stared at her console in disbelief. "Captain, the ship knew exactly where to hit them to disable their weapons without destroying the vessels." Before Riley could respond, the ship shuddered. Not from an attack, but from within, as if something dormant was awakening. The bridge lighting dimmed momentarily, then returned with a slightly different quality. The air seemed to vibrate with unseen energy. "What's happening?" Riley asked, gripping the arms of his command chair. "Power surged throughout all systems," Monroe reported, working frantically at her station. "But it's controlled, not random. It's like the ship is rebooting itself." The strange symbols appeared again on all screens, then resolved into English, but with additional displays and controls that hadn't been there before. "New systems coming online," Nichols reported. "Defense grids, advanced sensor arrays, communication, protocols, things we didn't even know were there." Dr. Ward looked up from her station, her face pale. "It's awakening. The Krell ship within our ship is waking up." A sudden surge of acceleration pushed them all back in their seats as the salvager moved with impossible speed, executing combat maneuvers no human pilot could have programmed. The ship positioned itself perfectly to keep all three disabled Krell vessels in view. "I'm not doing this," Frank said, staring at his navigation controls. "The ship is flying itself." A new display appeared on the main view screen, a communication interface unlike anything they had seen before. Strange symbols flowed across it, gradually resolving into recognizable patterns. "It's trying to communicate with us," Ward whispered. Riley stood and approached the screen. "Can you interpret it?" Ward studied the patterns. "It's creating a translation matrix based on our language databases. It's learning to speak to us." The symbols gradually formed into English words. "Integration complete. Harbinger system activated." "Harbinger?" Riley read aloud. "Is that its name?" "Affirmative. This vessel is designation Harbinger, Exploration and Defense Platform of the Krell Cooperative." "Ask it about the attacking ships," Riley directed. Ward typed a query into her console. The response appeared immediately. "Not Krell. Automated sentinels, programmed to retrieve this unit if reactivated." "They're not Krell ships," Ward translated unnecessarily. "They're automated sentinels, programmed to retrieve the Harbinger if it ever reactivated." "Why did it choose to help us instead of returning with them?" Riley wondered. "Human integration successful. New symbiosis established, mission parameters updated." Monroe stepped forward. "It chose us because we chose it," she said softly. "When everyone else saw junk, we saw potential." The screen rippled, with new text, correct. "Krell design parameters. Seek worthy successors. Species that innovate rather than merely replicate. Humanity qualifies." Riley looked around at his crew, seeing the same mix of awe and uncertainty on every face. "What does this mean for us, for Earth?" "It means," Monroe said, "that we've gained more than just a powerful ship. We've gained access to technology thousands of years beyond anything the Concordat possesses." On the view screen, the three Krell Sentinel vessels hung motionless, disabled, but intact. Query. "Destroy Sentinels?" Riley considered the question. "No. Disable their long-range communications and navigation systems, then let them go. I don't want to start a war with whoever sent them if we can avoid it." The Harbinger, for Riley now thought of the ship by its true name, processed this command. The view screen showed targeted energy beams striking specific points on each Sentinel vessel. Completed. Sentinel return capabilities disabled. Threat neutralized. "Send a message to Earth Command," Riley ordered Howard. "Tell them the situation is under control, but we need to return immediately. The nature of our ship has changed." As the Harbinger turned toward Earth, Riley felt a mix of triumph and concern. They had transformed a pile of junk into the most powerful ship in known space. But in doing so, they had awakened something ancient and not fully understood. "Lieutenant Monroe," he said quietly, "I need your evaluation. Is this ship, this Harbinger, safe for us to control?" Monroe studied her readouts carefully before answering. "The integration between our systems and the Krell technology is stable. All indications suggest the Harbinger sees us as its rightful crew." She paused. "But there's so much we don't understand yet. We've awakened something powerful, Captain. We need to proceed carefully." Riley nodded and returned to his command chair. The Harbinger responded instantly to their course settings, accelerating toward Earth with a grace and power that no human-built ship could match. "The Xeraxians thought they were mocking us," Monroe said softly. "They never understood that throughout. Our history, humanity's greatest strength, has been our ability to take what others discard and transform it into something magnificent." The Harbinger hummed around them, its systems pulsing with a gentle light. No longer junk, no longer merely a ship, but a partnership between humanity and a legacy from the stars. Word of the battle above Proxima Centauri III spread quickly through the Galactic Concordat. The salvager's return to Earth was met with a delegation of high-ranking officials, including Admiral Jackson and representatives from every major Earth government. The ship, now known to its crew as the Harbinger, though still called the Salvager in all official documents, had become the focus of intense interest. The Xeraxian ambassador has requested an emergency meeting of the Concordat Council, Admiral Jackson informed Riley as they walked through Earth Command's main complex. "They're demanding the return of their vessel." Riley raised an eyebrow. "Their vessel? The same one they gave us as garbage?" "The very same," Jackson confirmed with a grim smile. "It seems they've realized their mistake." 3 days later, Riley stood with Admiral Jackson in the Grand Chamber of the Concordat Council. Representatives from 27 spacefaring species sat in tiered seats around the circular room. The Xeraxian ambassador stood at the speaker's podium, his gray-blue skin flushed with darker patches that indicated strong emotion. "The vessel in question was provided as a diplomatic courtesy," the ambassador was saying. "It was never intended to be weaponized or used against other Concordat members. We formally request its immediate return to Xeraxian custody for proper disposal." Admiral Jackson stepped forward to respond. "The ship you so generously gifted us has become integral to Earth's defense force," he stated diplomatically. "We would no more return it than you would return the battlecruisers gifted to your other, more valued allies." The Xeraxian ambassador sputtered with indignation. "This is not comparable. Those were functional vessels given in good faith. What we provided to Earth was—" He stopped abruptly, seeming to realize what he was about to admit. "Was what, Ambassador?" Jackson pressed. "Junk, garbage, a joke at our expense?" Murmurs spread through the chamber as other representatives leaned toward each other in hushed conversation. Many seemed amused by the Xeraxians' discomfort. "The point remains," the ambassador continued stiffly, "that the vessel contains proprietary Xeraxian technology and must be returned." "Actually," Riley interjected, stepping forward with a datapad, "our analysis shows that less than 15% of the vessel's components are of Xeraxian origin. The remainder comes from at least 6 other species, many of whom are present in this chamber today." He looked pointedly at the Truscan and Novan representatives who straightened in their seats with sudden interest. "Furthermore," Riley continued, "the core framework of the vessel predates any current Concordat civilization. It appears to be of Krell origin, salvaged, not created, by the Xeraxian Empire." This revelation caused an even greater stir. The Etondi, ancient Krell, were legendary among all spacefaring races for their advanced technology. The council leader, a tall, willowy being from the Eridani collective, raised a hand for silence. "These are significant claims, Captain Riley. Can you provide evidence?" "We can," Riley confirmed, transmitting data from his pad to the main display. "These are the original schematics of the vessel as we received it, and these are detailed analyses of the components' origins." As the council studied the evidence, the Xeraxian ambassador's protests grew more desperate. Even if the components come from various sources, they were assembled by Xeraxian engineers. "The configuration is our design. A design that didn't work," Jackson pointed out. A collection of mismatched parts that you couldn't make functional, which is why you gave it to us in the first place. The vessel now works because of human innovation, Riley added. We took what was discarded and transformed it into something new. Something that, in saving our colony, has already served the Concordate's interests. The council debated for hours, but in the end, the decision was clear. Earth would keep the salvager, with the provision that any technology unique to specific Concordat members would be studied jointly. It was a diplomatic victory that elevated Earth's standing within the Concordate considerably. Meanwhile, aboard the Harbinger, Monroe and her team had reached an understanding with the vessel's consciousness. Through Dr. Ward's patient work, they had established a form of communication with the ship's sophisticated AI that had been dormant for millennia. It's not just a ship, Ward explained to Riley in his ready room after the council meeting. The Harbinger was a Krell exploration vessel, designed to adapt and evolve. Those weren't actually Krell attacking our colony. They were automated. Sentinels programmed to retrieve the Harbinger if it ever reactivated, and it chose to help us instead of returning to them, Riley mused. It chose us because we chose it, Monroe said. She had joined them, bringing new data from her latest tests. When everyone else saw junk, we saw potential. The Krell designed it to seek out worthy successors to their legacy, species that could innovate rather than merely replicate. The implications were enormous. Through the Harbinger, humanity gained access to technologies thousands of years beyond anything the Concordate possessed. But more importantly, they gained a powerful ally. 6 months after the battle at Proxima Centauri III, long-range sensors detected a massive fleet of Krell Sentinel vessels approaching the edge of human space. Earth prepared for a possible invasion, with the Harbinger leading a hastily assembled defense fleet. The battle that followed was brief and decisive. The ancient Krell technology, enhanced by human innovation, proved superior to the automated Sentinels. The Harbinger seemed to understand the Sentinels in a way no human could, predicting their tactics and neutralizing their weapons with precise efficiency. In the aftermath, the Zeraxian ambassador approached Riley at a Concordate ceremony honoring Earth's defense of the galaxy. We underestimated your species, the ambassador admitted grudgingly. Though I maintain that our gift was generous, regardless of what you managed to do with it, Riley smiled politely. The true generosity was unintentional, Ambassador. You gave us your junk, but in doing so, you gave us the opportunity to show the galaxy who we truly are. 1 year after receiving the gift from the Zeraxians, Earth had become one of the most respected members of the Concordate. The technology derived from the Harbinger had advanced human science by decades, if not centuries, and the ship itself, now the flagship of Earth's growing fleet, continued to evolve as its human crew learned more about its capabilities. In the ship's engineering section, Monroe oversaw the integration of new human innovations with the ancient Krell systems. What had once been separate technologies forced together now worked in harmony, creating something entirely new. The Zeraxians thought they were mocking us, she told Nichols as they worked. They never understood that throughout our history, humanity's greatest strength has been our ability to take what others discard and transform it into something magnificent. Nichols nodded, patting the bulkhead affectionately. One species' trash is another species' treasure. Who would have thought that the junkyard ship would become the deadliest vessel in the galaxy? Not deadliest, Monroe corrected him. Most advanced. There's a difference. On the bridge, Riley sat in the command chair, feeling the subtle hum of the ship around him. In the year since they had awakened the Harbinger, he had come to understand its purpose. It wasn't just a weapon or a tool. It was a bridge between the past and the future, a means for the vanished Krell to pass their knowledge to a worthy successor. And humanity, with its endless resourcefulness and determination, had proven worthy. Captain, Howard called from his communications station. We're receiving a signal from deep space. It's unlike anything we've seen before. Riley straightened in his chair. Source? Unknown, sir. Beyond the edge of charted space. Riley exchanged glances with Dr. Ward, who had joined him on the bridge. More sentinels? I don't think so, she replied, studying the signal pattern. This is different. It almost looks like... The main view screen changed to show a star field none of them recognized. In the center was a single word in Krell script, which the Harbinger immediately translated, "Welcome." The Harbinger hummed with what felt like anticipation. What had begun as a joke, an insult disguised as a gift, had become humanity's key to the stars. What came next would be a new chapter not just for Earth, but for the legacy of the Krell and perhaps the entire galaxy. Riley smiled. "Well," he said softly, "shall we see what's out there?"